Hello, my lovelies. I'm back with another solo podcast. This one is so important. I unpack protein. I did this because protein has come up several times on my podcast episode with my guests when we talk about nutrition and fueling our bodies effectively and maintaining muscle mass because muscle is more metabolically active. And when I work with my clients, this question comes up often. They say, Mary, you said that I need to boost my metabolism and make small changes. Well, what small change should I make? And when I mention protein as being one of the most effective small changes to introduce into your daily dietary needs, the next question that comes up is how much, how often, and what's a good source? So I created a solo podcast dedicated to the common questions I get from clients and women that I chat with. Why is protein important? And how much do we actually need? To put this answer all together, I also created a free guide. You can download that free guide. The link is in the show notes. It's all there, all the details you need on protein. So really in this episode, what I want to do is dive into the importance of building and maintaining muscle, and specifically, of course, the role that protein has in this process. But let's be clear. Building muscle goes beyond just hitting the gym, okay? It's all about our overall health and longevity. And research indicates that as we age, women actually need more protein to fuel their muscle because muscle loss is dramatic. Particularly start noticing those differences, obviously throughout perimenopause, as early as 35, but certainly by the time you hit your 40s. Maintaining muscle is not only essential for our physical performance, showing off those guns, but also for our overall well-being. And I completed a course called Menopause 2.0 with Dr. Stacy Sims. She is an incredible expert in exercise physiology. I find her insights are so invaluable for all women, regardless of how active they may be or not. Being active in maintaining muscle is crucial for all of us. Whether we're a dedicated athlete or someone who just wants to stay fit, understanding the role of muscle is vital. And this Menopause 2.0 course that I completed for part of my menopause coaching and menopause educator role emphasizes that lower muscle mass is linked to greater risks of metabolic syndrome and cardiovascular disease, and it is inversely related to mortality rates. In simpler terms, more muscle mass can help you live longer and maintain your independence as you age. Consider this, a fall, especially one that affects your hips. This can lead to serious health consequences, particularly if you're not physically fit already and have underlying conditions like osteopenia or osteoporosis. Now, we all know that resistance training is essential for building muscle, but here's the kicker. It's only half the formula, and this leads back to protein. Adequate protein intake is crucial because it provides the essential amino acids necessary for not only muscle repair, but muscle growth, which is known as protein synthesis. While resistance training builds muscle tissue, which is more metabolically active than fat, it also triggers hormones that promote abdominal fat burning. Yes, you heard that right. More muscle helps us burn fat, particularly around the belly. Now, according to Dr. Sims, strength training can significantly reduce this visceral fat, that deep belly tissue that surrounds our vital organs and possesses health risks like insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, Alzheimer's, and even breast cancer. Not good news at all. A little bit more weight around the belly has so many underlying health factors we need to address and to be aware of. And for women, hormonal fluctuations during menopause transition can greatly affect protein needs. These fluctuations can lead to a catabolic state, meaning that our muscles break down faster than they can build up. During perimenopause and postmenopause, declining estrogen levels reduce the anabolic stimulus for muscle building, meaning we need even more protein to compensate for this loss. So just how much protein do we need? Well, I often heard this question being asked, as I said earlier, and thankfully there is a simple equation to follow. Active women, whether strength trainers or endurance athletes require ample protein to support training and recovery. But really, this advice is for everyone, since we all need to be active to build and maintain muscle. Dr. Sims recommends a daily intake of 1.7 to 2.4 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. Personally, I like to simplify it and go with 2 grams. For example, if you weigh 63 kilograms, you'll want around 126 grams of protein daily. Now, women in menopause should aim for a higher end of this range, so around 2.2 to 2.4 kilograms, especially if you're engaging in intense training. Equally important is how we distribute our protein intake. Don't just pile it on in one meal. Aim for 30 to 35 grams at meals, each meal, and 15 to 20 grams at your snacks throughout the day. And I'll have a link in the show notes, like I said, on my free guide on how to track your intake and which foods are best. Now, as for protein sources, there are plenty of options. You can include animal-based proteins like chicken, beef, pork, tuna, along with plant-based sources such as beans, lentils, tofu, nuts, seeds. A 30-gram serving of chicken is about 4 ounces, while a cup of cottage cheese will net you about the same amount. So a simple measurement, the palm of your hand. A 30-gram serving will fit in the palm of your hand. Now, don't go pouring a cup of cottage cheese in your hand because that would be awfully messy. You get the point. Now, let's touch on a concept called anabolic resistance. Women in perimenopause and postmenopause often experience this, meaning our bodies become less efficient at building muscle. I know it's not fair, but it's the reality for many of us. By around the age 40, as I said earlier, women start noticing a significant decline in muscle mass. So what can we do? Adequate protein is essential. After a workout, consider consuming around 40 grams of whey protein isolate or essential amino acid to enhance muscle recovery. You want to get this in within 30 to 35 minutes after a workout. Big bonus. Focus on obtaining 3 to 3.5 grams of leucine, which will help keep that anabolic window open. I explain all of this in my free guide. Again, it's linked in the show notes. But why stop at just muscle health? Protein also supports better blood vessel health and mood regulation, which is super important during menopause when mood swings can become troublesome. Arginine assists with blood pressure control, while leucine helps modulate serotonin levels, reducing both anxiety and depression. And I explain the two of them again in my free guide. Speaking of leucine, here are some great sources. Salmon, chickpeas, brown rice, eggs, soybeans, nuts, beef, they all pack a punch in terms of protein. Now, what about protein supplements? They can be incredibly useful, especially if you struggle to meet your protein needs through diet alone. And I find this especially true after workout when I'm trying to get that little extra, like up my protein grams. Whey protein isolate is ideal. But not all protein supplements are the same. As advised by Dr. Sims, whey protein isolate or hydrolysate are ideal choices. But if those don't sit well with you, I personally have a hard time with whey protein. You can consider pea protein, rice protein, or other options that provide a complete amino acid profile. And I explain amino acid profiles in my free guide that you can find linked in the show notes. So, in closing, understanding protein's multifaceted role is essential for women navigating perimenopause and through to their postmenopausal years. I often meet women who believe they no longer need to consider protein or muscle health after menopause, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Adequate protein combined with regular exercise can significantly influence our muscle health, our mood, and our overall well-being during this transitional phase and beyond. To wrap it up, let's focus on both the right quantity and the right quality of protein sources to help us thrive through the menopausal transition and better manage the changes that come with it. So don't forget to grab that link in the show notes for my free protein guide Power Up with Protein, a menopause guide for strength, health, and longevity. Thank you for tuning in to another insightful episode of All Things Menopausal. If you enjoyed today's episode and want to stay connected, be sure to follow me on Instagram for tips and updates. And if you found value in today's episode, please consider leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. Your feedback helps reach more women who can benefit from these conversations. Until next time, stay empowered, stay informed, and embrace the beauty of your menopausal journey. Remember, midlife should be the best life, and it will be. Namaste.